In order to go ahead, I welcome Varun sir to come over as a keynote speaker, as expert speaker. He will speak to us on this particular topic. Thank you.
So, good evening, everyone. So, are you excited for the campus talk? Yes? I need a more sound from you. Okay. So, and whenever I heard the topic of is education system in India churning, I want to give you a brief idea of what has happened in my schooling with respect to the concept of education. So I want to ask you one question to you before moving on to the topic. How many of you have heard in your schooling that the words of topper in the class and a word chala mandi vine untaru? Yes or no? And if there is no marks, there is a failure. Marks nahi hai to zindagi mein fail hota. Ee words winner eppadana? Yes or no? Even in movies you might have heard about these words. So even I have felt the same thing. When I was in my schooling, there is a concept called report card day. Correct? Report card day is, sir, man exams అయిపోయిన తర్వాత we need to go to the school. Yes or no? And we have to take the report card and your parent has to sign on that. On 8th class, I don't remember exactly, I might be in the 8th class, have collected my report card and I came home and it's a summer vacation. In summer vacation, definitely most of your cousins, brothers or your guardians or your relatives will be visiting your house. So generally there will be a discussion on your education because you have received your report card. There will be a discussion on your report cards. And the same thing has happened. Whoever the person who come to your house, my father is discussing about my marks. And I didn't perform very well in the examination. And I felt like, again, these marks, again he talks on the concept of the marks and he start scolding. And I felt like I need to hide this report card somewhere in the home so that you never discusses it with anyone. And I somehow put this report card in the old newspapers. అది ఎక్కడ పెట్టానో నాకు గుర్తు కూడా లేదు తర్వాత మళ్ళీ. And he asked, where is the report card? And I felt like I don't know exactly where I have put and I forgot. And he has taken a belt and then I remembered where I have put and I have opened the entire newspapers of last 2 months, 3 months, and in between I found the report card. And after discussing the report card, and again he has taken the another round. So this system of report card, this system of marks, I didn't felt anything at that time. But later on, I find this education system is a trap. Do you find education system is a trap? Do any one of you realize that your education system is a trap? Anyone? Why do you feel so? Anyone? Exactly, you are mentioning that you felt that education system is a trap in India. Is there any example for you that?
ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ అనేది నిజంగానే ట్రాప్ సార్. అంటే వాళ్ళు మార్క్స్ అని రొటేషన్ చేస్తూనే ఉంటారు సార్ ప్రతిదానికి. అంటే చెప్పింది చదవాలి, బట్టి పట్టాలి, దాన్నే మళ్ళీ తిప్పుకుంటా మళ్ళీ ఎగ్జామ్లో రాయాలి. ఓన్గా మనం సమాజంలో నేర్చుకునేది ఏముండదు సార్. బుక్స్ ఉన్నాయి, చదవాలి, రాయాలి, అంతే సార్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్.
Okay. So the same thing I felt, thank you, the same thing I felt when I was in my schooling. And later I realized that it is not the way to approach towards education. Okay. And I found, see, this is a society mindset. There is in a society mindset, in our Indian system educationally, a good job mentality. Get a good job mentality. Manchi chaduko, marks techuko, proper job techuko, then you'll get a good wife, you'll reproduce a next generation, then that's done. This is a loop. And this is the reason why we call our education system is a trap, EMI trap. We can call it as EMI trap. We get into an employment, we take a loan, we pay the credit cards and EMIs. Done. That's it. So the reason later I realized this is not the best way to go for an education. The basic core reason for this is the Indian education system, what we are having in the last 10 years, before 10 years back. Okay, so I'll give an explanation. See, when we are in our ancient times, we do not have this kind of rote learning. Rote learning and a concept undu. Rai gurtu pettuko మగప్ చేసి దాని ఎగ్జామ్లో పెట్టేస్తే you'll get a good marks. This is not the system which you find in the ancient times. It is an holistic approach where we have Gurukulam. We call it as a Gurukulam concept. You tell them, they'll understand. There is no need of writing all these things. They'll learn it. Okay. Then they reproduce it. They'll understand the concept including the concept of nature into their education. So there is no concept of rote learning at that time. But later on, with the introduction of the Persian system, the concept of rote learning has become more, the education system has become more trap, and the concept of getting more marks, getting into a good job, getting married and reproducing. The concept has again, later on it has become more and more and more. The education system has just become fulfilling the needs of any particular individual and getting into an unfulfilling jobs. మనం చాలామంది మీరు రియలైజ్ అయి ఉంటారు, మీ కజిన్స్ బ్రదర్స్ ఇప్పటికీ చాలామంది చెప్తుంటారు దట్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్ ఇన్ డూయింగ్ దిస్ జాబ్ బట్ ఐఎమ్ డూయింగ్ దిస్ జాబ్ జస్ట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ మై సెల్ఫ్ సస్టెనెన్స్. మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద సాఫ్ట్వేర్ పర్సన్స్ సే దట్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ అంటే చాలా కష్టంగా ఉంది, ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు డూ ఇట్, బట్ ఐఎమ్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్ బికాస్ జస్ట్ ఐఎమ్ గెటింగ్ ఏ గుడ్ శాలరీ బాగా వస్తుంది కాబట్టి నేను చేస్తున్నాను. బట్ ఈజీ ఫుల్ఫిల్లింగ్ ఇస్ ట్రూ విజన్, ట్రూ డ్రీమ్స్ లేదు. But I'm very much thankful to you because you have chosen your career independently. My time lo there is no such kind of this concept. We used to like follow a single lane track. One person will go to the MPC, other person will go to the BPC. Just because of he is not interested in maths, he get into the BPC. Just because of he is not interested in biology, he get into the MPC. Ante tappa he is not interested in maths, he is not either interested in biology, physics, chemistry. So here this system, education or rote learning concept has become more and more and more, and even our education system in society has become the loop of engineering, MBA, medical. In southern states especially, engineering, MBA and medical, and you don't find any other streams. But you are very lucky that you have an opportunity to choose your careers, getting into the law, which is having a more demand, getting into the civil services, which is prestigious, again getting into the multiple universities, becoming an assistant professors, doing research, and these things are being provided and you're taking your own choice itself. But we do not have that time. So that is the reason why I feel the education system at our times is a trap. But the national education policy which has been brought by the government recently has made the a single lane track of our education system into a multiple lanes. So the reason, one of your examples is you are entering into a multiple lane, not into the only core MPC or the only BPC or getting into the IITs or getting into the software engineers. You are getting into the multiple things where you are fulfilling your dreams with your own talent itself. So for this, the question again comes, is Indian education system churning? And not exactly the everywhere, but it lies upon the institutions, education institutions, it lies upon the effort has to be put by the parents, the efforts has to be put by the students, and the faculty and the teachers has to enrich their skills to change the concept of rote learning into a critical thinking. Here critical thinking, whenever I use the word critical thinking means we feel, are critical thinking ante enti నాకు రాదు ఏంటిది అసలు. Do you feel the same? Critical thinking అనేది? Do anyone of you know that what exactly is the critical thinking? Critical thinking ante enti? What exactly is there? Anyone who can raise your hand so that what exactly is the critical thinking? Anyone? So put it in a very simple, critical thinking ante em ledu. If something is a word, assumption, if there is any concept, మీకు అందరికీ critical thinking ఉంది లేదని కాదు. If there is a concept, you will think in a different angle, you will have your own assumptions, you will have your own conclusions. అది కరెక్టా తప్ప అనేది పక్కన పెట్టండి. But thinking in a other way, other dimension, developing your own conclusions, developing your own creativity in terms of understanding a concept is all critical thinking. There is nothing beyond that. That itself you need to develop. Critical thinking means you're not especially belonging to the subject. Make it very simple. Of critical thinking means you might be watching a movie. In watching a movie, most of the people understand only about the songs or the fights or any story. But the critical thinking lies the concept of what concept is being used in this movie, or else is there any relevance of the movie in our academics or in civil services or in any other aspects. So you might have watched the Kantara movie. But did anyone of you understand the crux of the story? Just most of you have reflected the voice or the sounds or the expressions of the hero. But there is a story behind that where it can be used for civil services. If you clearly understand the story, there is a conflict between the good and the bad. Good and the bad, you mean the society and the government. Okay, exactly not between the society and the government. It is between the society and the evil, where the government comes into the picture and it becomes the bad. And later on, this society and the government combinedly fight against the evil. The same thing happens in the societies. The same thing happens even in the real societies. Because here in the Kantara movie, the society, the government has accepted their natural things which are being persuaded or which are being done by the tribals or the society. And later on, the people in the tribal areas have accepted the government rules and regulations. So in between, they moved parallelly and they fought against the evil. So here what you need to understand is the government has to accept the traditional things of the society. At the same time, the society also should accept or abide by the rules of the government. So if you do that, you will never find any disturbances, so that you can fight against the evils and you can remove the evils in the society, where you will have a peacefulness in the society. That is what you should understand in the movie of Kantara. So this is the critical thinking which you need to develop in your education system. This is the right age exactly for you to develop these things, because if you have a critical thinking, you will understand what are the problems in the societies, what are the issues being faced in the societies, so that you will have a companion or a passionate companion towards the societies. Okay, and the national education policy, which is brought by the government with respect to the policymakers, has also included the concept of critical thinking in the education system. So this is one example where we can say that the education system is churning. It is changing bit by bit in India, especially. And this national education policy might have been brought in 2020, but might not be implemented in entire India, because it is not being accepted, because it is being a bit difficult for the governments to implement an entire scale in each and every state. But we can proudly say that this campus talk is one of the examples for critical thinking, because you are learning, one of your friends are being ready to discuss on the topic, and you are doing research on that, and you're developing your own assumptions, you're developing your own conclusions, and you're going to talk on the campus talk. So is it not an example of the critical thinking? Yes, this is one of the examples of critical thinking, and we are implementing in our college. And even the symposium which was conducted in the last week on the concept of euthanasia, is it not an example of the critical thinking by your students? Yes. And you're taking the help of the faculty? Yes. They are providing all-round development towards your education development in India, especially in our college. And we are not only this college. Even I'll give an example of one university in Odisha. What they do is, it's an engineering college. What they did is, they have taken the students in the engineering program, and in the engineering college itself, they have developed a startup company of producing electric vehicles. So generally what a company does, company they'll recruit the employees and they have to pay the salaries. But doing it in a different way. Why to recruit a company? Why to recruit an employees? I'll recruit a best person who can execute these things. And the person, what he does is it took all the students as an interns. Internship, and they'll pay around 3,000 to 4,000 per month for them. And the students itself involved in the manufacturing itself in the college. So it is an hand-on approach. సో ఏం చేస్తారు వాళ్ళు ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్లో చదువుతూనే అక్కడ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ చేస్తూ ది యూనివర్సిటీ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ ఈస్ ప్రొడ్యూసింగ్ ద ఎలక్ట్రిక్ వెహికల్స్ టు ద సొసైటీ. And here the students are learning the technical knowledge, and the university is not having any employees, and it is not putting any burden on the university as well. So here university, industry, student all are collaborating into one single structure at the one place, and they are producing the electric vehicles. So there is no need of any expenditures on them, and the students are learning the technical skills right at the college itself. So is it not an example of the education system changing? Are we doing the rote learning? No, we have changed. We are changing towards a new curriculum. And coming into the holistic development, other aspect of the churning in India, in education system is, whenever we talk about the holistic development, it does not include only the marks. Holistic in the sense overall development. Development in the aspects of emotional skills, development in the aspects of intelligence, development in the aspects of sports, arts, and everything. All-round development we can call it as. So it is very much important, sir. Holistic development ఎందుకు important at present times is because you need to have a skills. You need to develop the skills to face the challenges. Because let's say, for example, you have become a collector with your knowledge. After becoming a collector or an SDM or DM for any district, you need to face the challenges or pressure from the government and from the peer members. If you could not able to do that, there are examples of collectors going for suicides just because of could not able to take the pressure. Pressure ever తీసుకోవాలి? When can you control or when can you control this, or else you can take the pressure? When you have the emotional intelligence, when you develop the emotional intelligence so that you can take the pressure, so that even you after taking the pressure you can face the heat of the society. If you do not develop this holistic development, and again it would create, there is no point of going for marks again, getting a marks. And one thing which you need to develop, which you need to think is introspect is, what would you do if marks were not important at all? Sir, anyone? So let's say, what would you do, sir, if marks were not important to you at all? If marks were not at all important, if they are not at all being considered as a one criteria, what would you be doing? Studying creatively. Freely, because like, are you pressured now to get a marks in this college? So see, some people might be telling, sir, ఈరోజు అసలు మార్క్స్ లేకపోతే ఇక అసలు నేను చదవను సార్, పాస్ అవ్వాల్సిన సంబంధం లేదు, పాస్ అవ్వాల్సిన అవసరం కూడా లేదు. దాట్ షుడ్ నాట్ బి యువర్ మైండ్ సెట్. Whenever if marks is not being considered as a criteria, then you should develop your holistic development. It is, sir. Holistic development itself means you should have a critical thinking, emotional intelligence. You need to develop overall perspective. That is the one thing which you need to do. For that, the government has also come up with the Atal Innovation Mission, Atal Tinkering Labs, where it is developing the schools. Atal Innovation Mission law, they have some places where the program is being run. They give the education, and at the same time they also provide scientific temper. Scientific temper means these are the challenges, holistic development. What are the problems being faced? You need to face all these things, not only the subject. So all these things are being done by the government, by including the national education policy, coming up with the Atal Tinkering missions. And not only this holistic development, the technology itself is also playing another important role in the education system in India. So let's say for technology, I mean, I'm not talking about the apps or the websites. We should be thankful to the COVID because it has intruded into your houses. The technology has intruded into your houses for providing you the education. The government has bought the different websites, schemes for that. So this is how, though we are having disparities with respect to the internet between the rural areas and the urban areas, but most of the people are getting the best education in terms of views. Views here mean like experiencing the education through the virtual mode. So that is one thing which is being provided by the internet. So Along with that, while talking about the internet, I got another thing into my mind. See, in the holistic development, if you remember, you might be in the age of around 16, 17 years. Yes? Have you heard about this Zepto? Zepto. The founder of Zepto? Exact, what is his age? 21. 21 is his age, sir. 21 is his age. What is his company turnover or revenue? He's having asset worth of some individually there are two persons. Some person is having around 3,800 crores, another person is having 4,800 crores at the age of 21. Do you think that they did this just because of the traditional education system? Rote learning? No. They have developed the critical thinking in all aspects. How can I utilize the internet? Might be in future you might be having another technology. You should have it in your mind, how can I utilize that technology so that I can empower myself and I can benefit the society? If you think in such a way, that is enough that you're developing your education system and you're utilizing your educational skills in bettering your life, in providing to the needs of the society. So these things has to be done. For doing all these things, there are some factors which has to be implemented by all stakeholders. Here, stakeholders mean the educational institutions which are implementing. Right now, this educational institution, 21st century, is colleging this critical thinking by implementing the campus talks and the symposiums. And second thing, teachers need to upgrade or equip the skills to meet the demands of the education system. And that is being done by the Joseph sir by including the skills into this. And third, the government, policymakers. The policymakers are doing that by bringing the national education policy, but though there are challenges in implementing it, the last factor is the parents. Parents has to put an effort and change their mindset from getting marks or concept of getting marks to the concept of getting or giving critical thinking to the students. That has to be done. If that could be done, the need of the society is now a skilled person. If a person is having a skills, in all ways, he is the person who is going to get or else he is the person who is going to come up with a new company instead of going for a good job. He is the person who is going to give the societal needs. He is the person who is going to give the jobs to the society. That has to be done. So our mindset has to change from, we should be the seekers of knowledge rather than seekers of marks. This has to be changed so that we have been doing it and most of the educational institutions are doing it. And I gave you the examples of there are many schools which are implementing the programs like visiting the field, visiting the manufacturing units, visiting the multiple places where the students can enrich their knowledge so that instead of focusing on the subjects, they are focusing on multiple things. So here I can conclude that not at all over India, I cannot say that the education system is churning, but it lies entirely on the institutions which they want to implement thoroughly because for the betterment of the students. So that by doing that, this 21st century college is producing the next generation leaders, innovators for the challenges which are required for this 21st century era. So thank you very much.